Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday? Thursday? Not really sure, but I'm excited to be here with you all tonight. Jamie will be joining us. We didn't know if he was going to be able to, but because of the ice/snowstorm, he did not have to go out of town, and he's here with us tonight. He is just grabbing his chair. He's just grabbing his chair, and he will be right in here. But tonight we're talking about complacency in your marriage, which is really funny because we watched Sex and the City 2 tonight, which don't watch that with your children because they repeat things they shouldn't, no matter how many times you cover their eyes. But anyway, like on the one we just watched, Big, he's like on this TV kick, and like he just wants to sit on the couch. He doesn't want to do anything. That was like 2 years into marriage. So we're going to talk about, I was like, that's just perfect that we watched that tonight. But that is what we're talking about tonight. I told him you were getting your shirt. I don't know what made me say that, but I was like, getting your shirt. But you all say, hey, let us know you're on here. We only have a few nights left, but because of this ice storm that we're about to have, it looks like that we're going to be home. So you're probably going to be worn out with the posting and the writing and the videos, all the things. Hey, Stephanie, y'all just say, hey, let us know you're on there. How have you prepared for Ice Storm 2021? That's what I want to know. Like, have you done all the things like to prepare? We've stuck towels along the doors because it's going to get really cold just in case the lights go out too and we don't have any heat. We checked our gas because we have a gas stove and a gas fireplace. We filled our propane tank, so if we needed the grill, let's see, what else did we do? Like, got all of our flashlights, all the candles. We pulled all the blankets. But I'm gonna make Jamie cuddle with me if the lights go out. I'm gonna make him, not my body pillow, with me. My weighted blanket.
You said it again last night.
Oh, I did,
It was
y'all.
still 0.
I yelled and I said, Jamie, come cuddle me.
And I knew.
And he said,
I got the cuddle the body put off.
Stinking
20-pound weighted blanket. It was awesome. I felt loved. Felt needed.
You should
It's
have.
real good about myself in general. You scoot over.
Where do you want me to scoot to?
I'll just hang out back here.
Where do you? Oh,
It's
your
pretty
face is
normal.
covered. I'm
Family,
sorry.
it's work. You know.
I'm sorry.
Where's Jamie? Hey.
You look like Mr. Wilson, or not Mr. Wilson, but
Hey, ho, neighbor.
the one on the other side of the fence. Just
What is his name? It's Wilson. No, it's not Wilson. It's what is his name?
Is that Wilson?
Maybe
If
it
you
is.
watch-
Maybe it's Wilson.
Because there's
Gosh,
it's
I
Wilson
missed that
because there's
show.
Al and there's Tim
Al Borland.
and there's Wilson. Yeah, it's Wilson. Let's hear it for all you TGI Friday babies growing up. Like, that's what you watched every Friday night.
Home Improvement may have been my favorite.
Because they said you look like the kid from
Oh,
Home
I
Improvement.
did. You know, I was rollerblading one time at Champs in Lexington back when rollerblading was awesome, and I had a bunch of kids rollerblade up to me and asked me if I was Brad from Home Improvement. And I
You've
lied.
told me this story a lot.
No, I haven't.
Those kids still to this day are probably like,
I totally said.
we met Brad from Home Improvement.
I
Oh,
totally said I was too. He had the same shoes I did at the same time. We both had the Deion Sanders by Nike.
wow. Heard this story like so
Well,
many
you don't have
times.
no cool story like that.
Yes, I do. I
What?
got on stage with Louise Mandrell. She pulled me up on stage because I was at her concert with my parents, and I wouldn't stop crying.
That Louise? Oh, that was Liza. Never mind.
So she
I was about to say, I don't know what
pulled
to
me
say.
up on stage, and then I got to go backstage with her daughter, and we drank creamers.
You don't remember that?
I have pictures to prove it.
Oh, okay, that's a pretty good story.
And my mom is on I Bet Money, and she can say, yes, that really happened.
I know it
My
did.
mom
I
doesn't
believe
lie.
you.
My mom doesn't lie.
That's a better story than mine. But I did look just like him, like dead on. I wish I could get my yearbook, my 5th grade yearbook picture in there.
I bet your hair was awesome.
It was the exact same his was at the same time. It was when it was poofy on top and parted in the middle, and then I had a mullet that curled at my shoulder. Same hair he had at the same time. Yeah, it's like it was my 5th grade picture.
We should do a thread in the group of like your throwback, like everybody post your throwback like 5th grade picture.
I don't know how anybody's going to beat me. I had on some type of sweatshirt too. It was striped. And I've always had a gap in my teeth, but it was bigger then. So, poor kid. I mean, I look like I didn't have a shot.
I love that gap between your teeth, baby.
I know, well.
You can spit those beans.
It's not going anywhere. You can kick a field goal. Woo! It's good.
Taylor Swift sings about the gap between your teeth, so.
Well, it's there to stay, so they say it makes me look Norwegian, but I don't know who they is, but they say.
Who is they? Well, tonight we're talking about complacency, and there is no complacency in our marriage.
No, not anymore. I think we've kind of been in that spot, but we've worked really hard, I think, for it not to happen.
But there's a lot of phases in your marriage. There's terrible twos, so like year number 2, the 5-year snooze, the 7-year itch, the empty nester phase. Mm-hmm. I don't know what from 7 to like your kids.
We're not there yet.
Not been there yet. We'll let you know. But there's
don't want to be there anytime soon.
No, there's so many different phases in your marriage, and a lot of them revolve around kids. They really do. If you have kids, and we all love our kids a lot. But a lot of complacency in marriage comes from that. It can. Especially when your kids are really, really young and they require a lot more of your time and attention. What was that? What?
Have we started recording? Do we need to do that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know if we want to record.
Yes. Okay. So Jamie's going to start the podcast. He hid behind the mic.
Well, I didn't want him to see me like signaling like in case we were doing something different tonight.
No, we haven't. Okay. All right. Well, let's start over. Rewind. Okay. Here we go.
All right. 3, 2.
Hey everybody, I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Jamie.
And we are here for Love and Marriage, the Complacency Talk.
The Complacency Talk. Episode 9? Or
Do
10?
You even know what?
10.
I don't even know what day it is.
I think it's 10.
I'm really struggling.
If we started on February 1st, right?
Right.
And today's February 10th, it must be episode 10.
Episode 10.
But we didn't record the one last night.
Right.
That's why. So,
right. But it is what you say it is because you're right like that all the time.
Most of the time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say 87% of the time. So, I mean, that leaves a little wiggle room in there.
Complacency. Again.
Big topic.
But our marriage right now is not at a point of complacency, but we have been there. Like I said before we started recording, there's the 2 terrible twos, the 5-year snooze, the 7-year itch. You're 13. 13 just seems like it could be bad luck or maybe good luck. I'm not sure. So,
it's all what you make it.
That's right. And then like when your kids, when you're empty nesters. So we're not there yet. Not there. Why are you being so quiet tonight?
I'm listening to you talk.
I came home from work and Jamie stopped me and he goes, I believe we need to talk. And I said, why? He said, I believe there's some complacency in our marriage. And I think while he was making the notes, which I come home from work to a book, he wrote a book about complacency.
I had something hit me about how to explain it.
Well, let's just dive right in.
Complacency.
Dive.
Complacency is the subtle killer of marriages. Oh, it's like the ninja in the night. You don't even know what's happening. Like you don't even know what's. I'm like tucked in behind this mic.
Well,
here.
I can only scoot over so much more.
I mean, the sound will be good. It's just like I see part of my face back there.
Kind of makes you a mystery.
But it is. I'm kind of a mysterious guy.
Kind of. Or like a fun guy.
I tell you, this episode is going nowhere fast, people.
Yeah, sorry. I had to do
That
it.
is a good one, actually.
I had to do it.
I wish I'd have thought of that one. That was really witty. Speaking of which, how nice is this shacket? You know, nobody that listens to this is going to understand, but I'm digging it. It's like corduroy.
My shacket from Amazon.
I used to own corduroys. They
$15
were popular there for a while.
Well, since we were talking about retro photos, I mean, like, things just always come back around. They do.
Yeah.
Should save it
Some
all.
things don't need to, but they
Shoulder pads are coming back in style.
I guess it's all about how you wear it.
Shoulder pads.
You know, can you make it work? Can you crush it? You know.
I keep my shoulders up here most of the time. I don't need to add some pad to the side to make them touch my ears.
Yeah, I've really been crushing my delts, so I think I'm good.
Okay, complacency.
Oh, that was too much.
Totally.
Too much.
Like I said, I never know what. Jamie's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, sometimes it's a big, fat surprise, okay? But that's life with me.
That makes it not complacent.
But we... Sorry, I'm trying to breathe away from you. She told me my breath smelled bad earlier.
I did not just ask you if you'd brushed your teeth today.
That means, honey, did you brush your teeth? Subliminally, that means your breath smells really bad. That's a nice way to say it. And I didn't get to brush them before I sat back down there, so I'm trying not to like talk her direction.
But you did brush them today.
Huh? Yes, I did. Now, I will admit, it was not like a full-on 2-minute brush like you should do. It was like quick. And I don't know why, but I just didn't feel like it. So top, bottom, tongue, done.
Something is better than nothing.
Obviously not good enough. So I'm going to hit the Listerine when we get done and throw a brush over them. Anyway, I don't even know where we're going there. Complacency. So this, as we laugh, it is a pretty serious thing because it's something that it's like a slow roll.
If you're not having conversations in your marriage about your husband's breath, you might be in a complacent point.
Yeah, if you're just like, you know what, his breath stinks, whatever. I'm not going to say anything anymore.
Just repulse.
Could be a sign of complacency right there if you're not willing to say the hard things, okay?
Oh.
Tell him.
Or bring up the shacket.
Tell
or the
him.
bad haircuts.
Well, I like the shacket. That was a compliment. Now, I've had some bad haircuts. And you've had some bad hair color. I mean, it's just what it is.
It's true.
Yeah, so.
It's true.
Don't try to color your hair yourself.
Very true.
But anyway, so complacency. Very subtle, very slow, very dangerous if we're not, again, aware of it happening. If we're not guarding ourselves against it happening. And Lindsay's analogy there, it's pretty good. You know, you get kind of the 2 year, what was it, 2 years?
Terrible twos.
Terrible twos.
Like the honeymoon phase has ended, you know, like you're getting annoyed with those little habits.
Like, oh my gosh, I'm with this the rest of my life.
Have you thought that before?
No, I'm just saying, I can imagine you get there.
Don't lie, because I've thought that before.
You're like, oh, no, I mean, I said my vows and I'm in it. Now, there's times when, you know, like to stab you with a fork or something. But.
Don't take my line. That's what I say to you. But then,
or like, you know, strangle you, but.
Then there's the five, like I said, the 5-year snooze where it's like, nothing's
kind of go on autopilot.
Maybe. Yeah, autopilot, you know. Maybe
Dangerous
your
place.
kids are, you know, at that age. Like when we had been married 5 years, Leighton was what, 3?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
3. We'd been married for 3 years when we had her. So like, life was we were adjusting, and we were living with my mom and my sister at the time.
We were, yeah.
So that was fun. Thank you, Mom, for letting us live there. We did it for you.
Yeah. It was good.
It was. We enjoyed it. But it definitely brought the obstacles to marriage.
Yeah. But I mean, it's part of it. I mean, marriage that's just part of it.
And then the 7-year itch where you start to you're like, you want that attraction again, and, you know, like to find that in each other.
Yeah. And that's dangerous too.
Yeah.
That can be a really dangerous place too.
Well, tell us why, Jamie.
Oh, I'm just saying. I'm listening to you.
Why do you
I'm
look
wanting
at
you to dig. Give me
well,
the explanation of it.
well, I don't know because I just barely remember, what happened yesterday. So thinking about back to our marriage 7 years ago, I'm like, we've been in these places.
How do you barely
vaguely remember it? But
I thought I was a forgetful one.
I'm
Don't say we swap places either.
I'm really struggling.
I can't remember what we
with
5 years ago. Then
really struggling with some brain fog. It's getting better.
Yeah, well, it's complacency. Anyway, so let's talk about complacency.
Some things I would just rather forget.
But guys, so when we're going to kind of walk through this in steps, but let's think about it. Think about the person you're sitting next to. Hopefully you're watching this with your spouse. Maybe you're not, but so think about that person. Think about when you first met. We don't know, everybody's story is different, but generally when we first meet somebody.
Jamie, we told you all, Jamie completely swept me off of my feet.
Yeah.
And before we started even talking to each other, he was mysterious.
Yeah.
And I like that.
I've always been different. I've always been kind of a different guy.
A fun guy.
Yeah, a fun guy, a different guy. Anyway, appreciate y'all. Now here we go. But in the beginning, things are so awesome, and it's butterflies and it's new and it's somebody you really like. You don't really know that much about them yet, but you want to. Okay, you're infatuated.
Stop for a second and just think back to that moment. Just think back to that moment.
I can tell you.
With your spouse, not ours, but...
But I think it was 2 years prior to before we ever even thought about getting together. We were sitting in the gym. I don't remember which gym, but I was sitting with Lance Coulter.
TC Chair. No, it was Cumberland Trace.
Yeah, and this was summer of 06.
I noticed you too.
06. But we're sitting there, and I remember sitting there talking to Lance Coulter, and you were walking across the gym. I don't know. I feel like you had on black shorts or something. And of course, the first thing I was ever attracted to Lindsay about was her butt. Okay, she has a really nice butt, and that's
he
just
told
real.
the pastor this, so it's not surprising.
I'm a butt man. I'm a butt man. So I saw it coming across the gym, and me and Lance were. I just remember me and Lance were talking about you
because I worked with him.
Yeah, and just talking about how good looking she was, and I was like, wow. And that was 2 years before, and then there was a 2 year gap.
Rewind, fast forward 2 years later, I was your boss.
Yeah. So?
I was your boss.
I don't understand the point.
Still your boss.
Whatever makes you feel better, honey.
That's right.
But so we, when things get started, they're so exciting, and they're new, and it's a new person, and you really like them, and you really want it to work. And what else do you really want to do? You want to impress them.
And I even let Jamie eat my roommate's cheese out of the refrigerator.
Yeah. Well, I would have done that anyway. There wasn't no stopping me. But when you're in that phase, we want to impress that person. We really want them to think, wow. And it did make, I love cheese. I'm a cheese fan. Okay, not the stinky kinds. Okay, I'm not big on the stinky.
Blue cheese.
Oh. Vomit.
But he did, yeah.
But I love the cheeses. So, but you want to let them eat the cheese. You always want to look your best. You're nice to them. You want to be just, flirty enough.
Whatever you want. You're not
them to
looking
think
at your
you're
phone.
super cool. Yeah, you're when you're around them, you're engulfed in that moment, or you're sending fun text. They can do no wrong at that point.
They're not calling,
Everything
they're playing
good.
some mind games, you're waiting for them to call, and you're looking at their Facebook status and seeing, if they've been on and why aren't they calling, and then they call. It's all a mind game.
And it's
fun.
We enjoy it and we don't at the same time, but that phase, that before, even before relationship, when we're just kind of feeling somebody new out, is super exciting, and everybody loves that, and everybody always wants that back. And it's not that you can't have it back. You just got to accept the fact that changes, but you can still enjoy that type of place in your marriage. So let's and go ahead.
But how often do we stop, and reminisce about that time in our life. You know, how often do we stop and think about the times in our life together that, you know, we really thoroughly enjoyed?
Are you asking
that
me?
were
Oh, you mean the 9 months?
You said it, not me. You said it. But how
The 9
often,
months that you
when
said.
we're in a bad place, or maybe a complacent place, or, you know, that place in our marriage that it's just not good, how often do we look back and think about those times?
Yeah.
And if we do,
You should.
yeah, but before it gets so far gone that you don't look back and say, I wonder why can't we have that back? I wonder where that went, where you feel too far removed and too far gone from
Where's
it.
the spark? Where's the sparkle?
Where's the sparkle?
But I think you have to be real. I think we have to be realistic too. It's not that, I think reminiscing about that stuff is great. You should, because it reminds you that those are the people that you were at that time.
Right.
But you got to be realistic too that, you know, you're not going to have that back. You know, we're not going to be in college again.
No.
You know, we're not going to have no children. We're not going to, you know, live separate lives like that. But
we can go sit in Waffle House.
you can.
Coffee.
You can still have an exciting marital life where you're at right now. You just have to make that decision. I think so many people just give up. We're like, well, we can't be that anymore. We can't do that stuff anymore.
We're too grown up for that.
That's just a
We have
lie.
kids.
That's just a lie. I mean, and that's really sad.
If a marriage isn't fun, you may not be doing it right. I'm just saying.
I mean,
and that's not just the sex part. Like, that's the whole thing.
You're in it forever. So you really should work on enjoying it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the one person you're going to be around more than anything.
I mean, I was just in the kitchen fake slapping Jamie, and the kids thought it was
I
freaking
loved
awesome.
it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I don't know where that came from,
But it was fun.
it was.
But you should have fun too. I think sometimes, and we'll just kind of go with what we're talking about here because I like it. Sometimes I feel like after you've been married for a while, like, or maybe some people do, like, it's like it's hard to have fun with that person.
You
So
just
it's
do
like,
your own thing.
or
You know?
or sometimes it feels like maybe you feel like you shouldn't be able to have fun like you used to. Like, that's not appropriate anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's weird to me because, you know, why isn't it? I feel like we get inside of our own head so much, or maybe marriage has just been spun to be that way so much now that we're just conditioned to think, well, you can't really be like that anymore. You can't have that kind of fun anymore. That's just not true.
No.
I enjoy it. Like, I enjoy, you know, things we're going to talk about to avoid complacency, but like,
well, so
playful
often
banter.
we just go through the motion. I mean, not just in our marriage, but in life. Like, we get up, we have the monotony of the same thing. We get up, we jump up, we throw on our clothes, we yell at the kids, let's get out the door. We got to go, 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 go. Get to school, go to work, come home, cook dinner, do homework, wash clothes, blah, 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 go to bed. And like, the list just we all, and I mean, it's the same thing for men. We all have those things that we're just called in the complacency in, and our marriage becomes one of those things where we're just caught in doing the same thing over and over and over again, and maybe we're not miserable, but we feel lost, and we don't know how to get off of that track. You know, we started living like adults instead of like teenagers or college kids that was having the time of their life, and then it was like a switch flipped and life happened. And a lot of people marriage is just one area of their life that they're complacent in, but I think really in reality their whole life is probably what they're complacent in. Because when we both started working on ourselves and getting into a place where we could have fun, we felt good about ourselves, we were searching for, we were living our passions and really trying to find our purpose, or whatever that was different all the time. I think it took our marriage to a level where it wasn't complacent anymore.
Yeah.
Because we were doing a lot of hard things to avoid that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's very true, and it just is odd to me to see that, to see kind of how people feel about that, or having fun, or just enjoying that other person that you're with. and like I said, it's not, we're never going to be in college again. We're never going to be at that time in our life again, but you're still those people. And you can be. And honestly, you know, we're always changing as people. You know, I look back now in college, I had a great time, but the person I am now, like, I like this person a lot better. I feel like this is, you know, this is more what God intended for me, even though that was fun then.
And there are single people on here watching. There are people that are in college right now. Listen, you all, this is coming from two people that are married, happily married, but don't spend so much of your life in college when you're young searching for more, you know, searching for that, oh, I've got to find that right person. Oh, I have to settle down. You know, I'm not saying you should party and go wild and be crazy, but enjoy the phase of life you're at right now. Enjoy that moment, because the right person for you, pray about it. I prayed for Jamie. Like, I prayed for the right person to come along. Also prayed for patience at the same time, which probably didn't go hand in hand well, since he made me wait 9 months. But, you know, enjoy that phase of life you're in. Savor those moments and trust that God has the perfect person in store for you. And, you know, stop searching for it around every corner, for love, for, you know, happiness. Just be happy where you're at that very moment, instead of always looking for something to fill you.
Yeah, that's very good. And that's, you know, that's anywhere in life, because, you know, we got married. We've been married for be 12 years this year, in August, but maybe you're not yet. And maybe you're my age, you know, 36. It's fine. You know, it's okay. You know, there's no rule that says, well, you got to be married by this time. I mean, there's not. So enjoy where you're at. Pray about who you want to be with, and God will take care of you. You know, it's hard to put your faith in Him sometimes. I know it is. It's really tough, because we think we know best. And that's just human nature, but we really don't. Like, we can't comprehend
how many times have you thought you knew best?
I mean, there's been so many times.
Me
And
too.
I've been shown that I don't. And that I do need to have faith, you know, and I still do. I still think that I know what would be best for me and for my family, you know, and for us.
Yeah.
And it's just not the case, you know, and you got to kind of pray yourself through that, you know, ask for guidance, to be humble, but.
But we all, you know, I remember being that girl that was just, you know, when am I going to find that person? When is that person going to show up? You know, and just always looking for it. And it was when I stopped looking that Jamie literally fell into my lap.
Yeah. That's how it happens a lot of times.
It is.
Because you quit relying on yourself to try to take care of things like that, and you rely on something bigger. So, that was good. Got a little spin off there, but that was good. Good conversation. Yeah, I think very appropriate. But yeah, so we get through like this beginning phase where we're infatuated, and some might say right at the beginning we start dating, even when we get engaged, things are still great, and you feel like, man, we were way more in love then, than we are now. But I think a lot of times, being real, we can easily confuse lust with love. Okay,
it's true.
So we're very visual beings. We're very, what we see first. And I think a lot of times lust is exciting, it's new, and we can easily mistake it for that. When love sometimes runs a lot deeper than that. Sometimes love is nasty and muddy and hard to deal with, but it's always there. It doesn't go away. And that feels a lot different than like that really fun lust feeling you have at the beginning.
Right.
And I think once we're married long enough, it just feels like, man, it's almost like we go backwards. Instead of going the way we should, we're like, boy, I'm just not in love anymore. I don't feel like that anymore. You're not going to.
A lot of times we quit, caring about what we look like as much, which I'm not saying that's the most important thing, but remember that first date when we were like, you know, we wanted them to just want us back, or that, you know, oh, do they think I look pretty? We quit doing that. You know, sometimes we quit taking care of ourselves. We quit putting forth the effort. I mean, a lot of times it's because maybe we're pouring into our kids, maybe we're pouring into work, and that's totally fine. But at some point you have to remember to take care of yourself, and, you know, to look good for that person, instead of being like, well, I don't care, you know, date night, I don't care what I look like. You know, the compliments, like just finding ways to compliment your spouse. We quit doing that and just think that they know. We assume that they know we think these things. Oh, they think I look pretty. Oh, he thinks I look nice, you know, but that's not true. The banter, the touching, the teasing, the fun, you all, the fun. I don't know why we think that adulting has to be so serious. I mean, there's times when adulting should be serious, like being adults, it should be. But why have we come to a spot in life where we take everything so serious that we enjoy nothing? And we do it, like, we're so guilty of it. You know, we're so fixated on what's going with life, and like all these things that we can't even control, that we lose the fun and excitement in our marriage and our home life. You know, we're like sticks in the mud. Ugh.
Well, and I think,
who wants to be that?
I think a lot of that has to do with pace too. We
Yeah.
live at a really breakneck.
We're exhausted.
We live at a breakneck pace, and it's almost an unsatisfied generation. You know,
It's true.
And there are good qualities and there are bad qualities about that never enough type of mindset. It can be one that pushes you to be more and more, and you experience great success. And I think that that's very important. We need to try to feed that part of us. But there's also another part too that's got to be fed, and that's a moment to enjoy, a moment to appreciate, a moment to be grateful for the successes you have. And so often I think that
Want to celebrate
that part
them.
gets left out. It's like, well, I can't stop now. I got to keep going. I got to keep going. And you can do that, but a lot of times that not only has an adverse effect on the people around you if you're not very careful. I would challenge people to try to find that balance. You know, be driven, want more, but at the same time, you got to find happiness and contentment with what you have in that moment, and gratefulness for what you have in that moment. And to even say that just sounds really challenging, because it's almost like you can't be one and the other. You know what I mean? It seems like that you have to be one or the other. So I think but I think the pace we live at strips us of enjoying a lot of the moments in life that we have.
But if you have kids, you know, one of the best things that you can do to de-stress is to get down on the level of your kids and just play with your kids. I mean, huge de-stressor. And then, you know, you have to celebrate your successes. Jamie's right. I mean, we live in a fast-paced, go, go, go. I want it now. I want it so bad I can taste it. And then once you get it, you want more. And we have to stop and enjoy and celebrate the successes. And all of these things really affect our marriage. And
sure.
And complacency can happen too, because we're putting so much effort into the other things that we're so exhausted by the time we get home that we have nothing else left of ourselves to give.
Yeah, that's very true. I think one thing too, when we talk about how complacency even starts to happen, is so we give a lot in one area and we find that we're not able to give in another area. And that can happen a whole lot. But I think the one word when I was making my book of notes
Your book
that hit me was understand. And understanding can be the silent killer, because we use it as justification to do nothing. And what do I mean by that? Well, we'll read a few phrases
And see if you've used these phrases before.
Or you thought them, because I think a lot of times it's what runs through your mind when you get to that place. And if you start to feel that, if you've ever thought it, then you might want to like stop, self-check, be like, oh crap. So let's go through it. But understand, think about that word
and
is the killer.
And maybe this is just like a self-realization thing for you, that like you've never stopped to think about these things. And it's hopefully this will be an eye-opener. And you're like, maybe this is something that we need to work on.
Yeah, and so I'm just going to talk like as a man dealing with this in his head, but this is definitely both sides. So, you know, you come home from work, wife cooked dinner, and, you know, things just look nice and everything. You sit down and eat, and you get up and you just kind of get ready and you go on to bed. And you leave it there, and you don't say anything about anything. Dinner, nothing. Maybe you didn't even give her a hug, you know. But in your mind, you're like, you know, she'll understand. Work's hectic.
Now, y'all,
she understands.
I have really, really high expectations. So, and I also don't always keep our house spotless. So when Jamie comes home, if dinner is cooked and the dryer's running and the floors are clean, if he doesn't notice, oh y'all, it's on. It's bad.
But it can happen. But that can happen. You know, this can happen. You don't pay attention to that, but you rationalize it in your head. You're like, well, they understand. Work's hectic. You know, they understand that. You know, they know I noticed it. You know, I didn't say anything, but they know. And how about and the next one is, you know, they understand I'm under a lot of stress. So maybe we're not doing those little things, or, you know, doing anything. And just in our head, we're rationalizing like, well, they understand I'm under a lot of stress. And the next one's like, well, you know, they understand. I appreciate the little things. I don't tell them. You know, I don't say it. I don't say thank you.
I said it once.
Yeah, I've said it a couple times. But so they understand. They know me. And then this one, they understand that I love them, even though, you know, we didn't do anything for Valentine's Day. We didn't do anything. But
that's just not me.
But she knows.
That's just not who I am.
Yeah, she knows I love her, you know. But yeah, so, and I mean, that can go on. Like, that list could go on and on and on. And I hope you see what's happening there. We're rationalizing, we're comfortable. We just assume that the person we're married to knows who we are. They know we love them, so it's okay to do nothing. And what's going to happen after you do nothing long enough is you're going to create such insecurity in that other person, loneliness, just a feeling of not being good enough, that you're not going to have a relationship. That person's not going to know that they love you.
And they may stay married.
Destroy your marriage.
Right. And they may stay married to you, but that doesn't mean that you have a great marriage.
No, because
or a great
you can
relationship.
just share space. You can stay under the same roof, which is really sad. But like letting yourself make those statements, even if you just think them, and rationalizing, not doing anything by just thinking that the other person knows or understands, it's not acceptable, and it's very dangerous. And it happens, and you don't even mean for it to. If
your spouse feels more like a college roommate than a spouse, you probably are in a spot of complacency.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if you literally go through your day and it's like no communication, no nothing, you just go through the motions, and then you lay down and go to bed at night with not so much as a kiss, hug, or a peck on the cheek, good night, love you, you know, you're probably in a spot of complacency.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, there's things like that you got to be aware of are happening. Like, you've got to have, you know, you got to be aware. You got to have the guard up. You got to know what's going on. Because this thing right here, complacency, it's not a big slam. You're going to know what happened, and your marriage is destroyed.
You're just going to wake up one day and be like, what the heck happened? Like, where did my marriage, when did
build and build and build?
When did my marriage turn into a roommate situation?
Yeah.
Or, you know, if you own a business together, just good business partners, or, you know, women, when did I just turn into the maid? And I mean, it can happen really, really fast before we even realize it. And then we're like, wait, where did this come from? And so, complacency, we are given this one life. We are given, so many breaths. We're given so many days in a year, a month, a week. Why do we want to live it on autopilot? Any of it. Why do we want to live any part of it on autopilot? Because the thing is, we can control it. It might be hard. It might be some of the hardest things you've ever done to get off of autopilot. And in the day and age we live in, we think autopilot's great. I mean, cars can drive themselves while we work. Everything is automated. Everything is quick and easy in our fingertips. We don't think we have to work for anything anymore.
Well, and the problem is so much of life now is convenience driven. And even businesses, they play to that. They play to that need. The consumer tells the business now what it should do, and it's all about convenience. How quick can you get it to me? I don't want to wait for it. And then there's marriage. And marriage doesn't work like that.
No.
Nobody's going to take your marriage and make it easier for you and more convenient for you. There are things about marriage that are never going to change, and sometimes it's just going to get hard. And if you just go looking for the easy way or the most convenient thing or the quickest fix, you're going to be disappointed, because it does not exist in marriage. It's just hard work, and it's almost a relentlessness, a refusing to ever stop. Because I think in marriage, a lot of times, you get to a point of being on autopilot where one partner might say, well, you know what? I've worked so hard for long enough, and that's enough. It's enough.
Retirement is here.
And I'm just it's been good enough. They should know that I've done good long enough now, and I'm just going to put it on cruise control, and I'm going to work on some other things. It's not like that. You might as well just get that mindset out of your head, because it doesn't matter how hard you work at your marriage, how long you work at it, you always are going to have to be working at your marriage. And that's the truth. And that's the same thing in life. I mean, if you ever get to a place to where you feel like you deserve something, then you're done.
Yeah.
Then you're done.
When you get to a spot where you're done learning and growing and trying to work on it, then you're done. Yeah. And a lot of times in our businesses, in our jobs, with our kids, we're willing to continue to work and get better at it. We strive for that. We yearn for that, to be an incredible mom, to be, what our kids are going to grow up to be, or at work and those accomplishments. But very rarely do I think that we think about our marriage, because, they're married to us. They're not going anywhere.
Exactly.
They're not going anywhere.
Dangerous place. And they may not, but, they may be there in the house with you physically, but we all know that there can be a massive disconnect between husband and wife. That's really sad, and it's bad for your kids. And you make a good point. We talk a lot about the little eyes watching all the time, and they're going to see that. But little eyes aren't the only ones always watching. I watch you. I watch my spouse, and I know Lindsay watches me, and those eyes matter really just as much.
Right.
I mean, honestly, I don't want to disappoint her. I don't want her to. It's funny, the one person, and I've told her this before, whose accolades matter the most generally to me are hers. And I think we carry that weight with our spouses, and we forget that those eyes are watching us too. And when you don't pay attention to them long enough, when you're complacent with them,
when you quit caring,
the way those eyes see you start to change, and that's a sad, sad thing. A sad, sad thing. And with autopilot's just a scary place to be. It reminds me of that movie with Adam Sandler, Click.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And it's not. It's kind of like he goes on autopilot, but he's got that remote. In any hard time in life or anything that he doesn't really want to be a part or care about, he can just hit that remote, and it kind of just puts him on cruise control. And then all of a sudden, he's laying in a hospital bed and has nothing, and realizes that he missed all his life, because he just wanted the easy button. And I think so many people in their marriage just want the easy button, and it's not there. So it's like, well, okay, I'll just cruise through, whatever.
Right.
It's just sad. I mean, so sad.
Well, we tend to gravitate towards where we feel like we're the most needed, where we're the most successful.
Everybody wants to feel needed.
Right. We tend to gravitate towards where we feel that at. And if it's not in our marriage, we're looking elsewhere for it. And that's a dangerous complacency game too, because you'll start working for other things harder than you're willing to work on your marriage. And again, I don't think there's anything wrong with being successful, with wanting more for your job or to be a great mom. But all of those things really and truthfully don't mean anything if there's not a good, strong foundation underneath you where, when you get to the top, to the mountaintop and you're succeeding, there's nobody standing there with you. If you're all alone, your kids are going to grow up and go to college. They're going to, or move out. They're going to get married, whatever. They're not always going to be there with you. Your job may not always be there. Your spouse, if you're married, it's going to be there unless you don't work on it and put forth the effort to do it. And then you're going to have all these things that you accomplish, and you're going to be by yourself.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's just, it's a very, very scary thing. Very easy to let happen too if you're not aware of just how big a deal it can turn into. So make yourself aware of it. Pay attention to what's going on. Maybe you've let yourself think some of those things before. We're all guilty of it, okay? But you got to know that it's happening. Because if you're not aware of it long enough, or you don't pay enough, or you just kind of brush it off as not a big deal, after a while, you won't even notice it happening anymore.
Right.
It's not a big deal. It's like the fire detector in our old studio. The battery was low on it, and it beeped every day nonstop for almost 4 years.
And we didn't even notice it. We
let it go long enough to where 4 years it beeped,
really,
and you could hear it.
Was it really 4 years?
Just about. Actually, it was probably 3 years. I feel like we had 2 years there where I finally changed the battery. But we just let it go long enough.
I'd be like, oh yeah, we have that just started and we haven't changed the batteries. You don't even realize that it beeps or how long it's been beeping.
You let it go long enough, and if you don't fix the problem, you just become completely devoid of it.
Man, that was. Yeah, what a great comparison.
Yeah, and I mean, it happens. And it's just, so marriage too, let's think about marriage. What is marriage? And we've talked about it from a biblical sense as well. And really, we meet each other, we date, we get married, we've been married for a while, we have some kids, and our love should be growing stronger through all of that. I think that's how God intends it. What happens is we feel like meeting and dating and being engaged, we feel like this is the pinnacle of our love, when it's the strongest, when it's the best. And I don't think that's true. I think that's where our infatuation is the strongest.
Don't you think a different kind of love? Because
I think there's a lot of lust still packed in there. There's a lot of infatuation.
There's a lot of unknowns.
There's a lot of unknowns there.
A lot
absolutely.
Of unknowns.
And we all think that that's the best it gets. And that's not really the truth. That's not how it should be. As we go through life together and learn each other, and we have ups and downs and kids and, fights and mountaintops together, like this love should be getting stronger. And so the more you learn about each other, the easier it should be to have fun.
You need to
nurture
nurture each other through all that. So I think your love changes. Your love towards one another.
Yeah, and
it's stronger than it was when you get married, because it's like, I know all these things now. There's no more mystery, and you're like, and I still love them, but that's something that you have to work on. That's not something that's just gonna fall into place because you were doing the work when you got married. When you started dating, you were willing to do the work, do the hard things, to get their attention, to get them to notice you. And if you quit that, why do we expect that our marriage and our love is gonna still possess those same qualities if we don't do the work towards it?
Yeah, and like we've talked about, it's always going to be work. And one of the funny things that Lindsay mentioned earlier is like we're willing to work so hard at so many other things, and if our marriage is struggling, it's like we're not willing to put the work into that. You know, we do so much other hard work, and then when it comes to marriage, it's just like, you know what, I don't want to do it, and that's the hardest work. I think that's a true test and a testament to the type of person you are. Is if the marriage starts struggling, are you willing to like dig your heels into it and say, no, you know what? No, this isn't falling apart. We're gonna figure this out no matter what. And it might be hard because really sometimes there's not even a clear idea of how to even start. Sometimes you're dealing with two different people and so many things happen in life. And a lot of times, you know, at work, it's like you want to get a promotion. You know what you have to do. You start working harder, and it's easy to work towards that goal. Or you want to get in shape. Well, generally, there's a clear-cut path to that. You can get a trainer. You can look up stuff online. You start, and you can get there. Sometimes marriage is like, what do we do? Where do we even start? So I think I don't think people sometimes are willing to put in that type of work, and that's really sad because it's the most beautiful thing we have. It really is.
In 2012, we've been married 3 years. Layton was born, and you know, motherhood had a crazy toll on me. I dealt with a lot of postpartum issues. We had been in our business, and I was terrified that what we had built we were going to lose, and I was pouring myself into our business. I didn't feel, you know, I loved Layton, but she cried. She loved Jamie. She's always been, she loves her mother now, but she's such a daddy's girl, and was then big time. And, you know, I felt like I was winning at work, at our business. And, you know, I was pouring everything into it. I wasn't going to bed at night. You know, I was working late. I was saying yes to everything. And we were standing in the driveway one day. And, I mean, didn't even notice the place that our marriage was in, that our family was in. And Jamie standing right there, I'll never forget where we were standing. He looked at me and he said, I resent what you do. And I was offended by that. I mean, I was very offended because I'm like, here I am trying to work. You just don't, you know, all the things that run through your head, you know, well, you just don't want to see me succeed. You're jealous of my success that I'm doing so well, or, you know, just everything that runs through your head that's like defensive. But I remember stopping and taking a look at the fact that he was right. And, you know, our marriage had been in a complacent spot. It was hard. That was right 3 years in, because she was born in 2012. We were got married in 2009. That's 2.5 years. So, you know, our marriage was in a very complacent place where he resented what we did. You know, he was the one at night, you know, cooking dinner because I was coming home late, or I was coming home. I was working. When I got home, I was staying up all hours. All I did was work, because I was pouring everything I had into our business. And I never stopped and realized until he pointed that out to me that our marriage was in a really dangerous spot, and we had just had our first kid. And so, you know, maybe you need to just back up and look at where you're putting your focus and see if you're putting so much focus into, because we're 12 years in, almost 12 years into our business. And those things have changed drastically. How we handle work, how we handle business, how we handle, you know, the separation between work and business. And listen, you all, still equally as successful, but enjoy it even more what we do. So just because you have to take a step back and say, back up and punt, you know, and get a new game plan on how you go about approaching, you know, something that you're passionate about, something that you love, and that you feel like you're winning at, just because you have to back up and say, okay, I'm putting a lot of focus and emphasis on this, and I'm leaving my home life, I'm not doing what I should at home, I'm not working on my marriage. Just because you do that, don't mean you still can't be successful at what you love to do and what you're passionate about. I believe that God rewards us when we rely on our foundation, and He will see us through in success. But sometimes we're just making ourselves exhausted. I mean, we're spinning our wheels, and we're gonna burn out really, really quick, and He knows that, and that's a reason why we have that foundation, Him and our marriage. And marriage should be fun, you all. It should be fun. It should be that spot when you come home that you enjoy coming home to, that you laugh together, that you have fun together. And that doesn't mean that you do everything together, but that just means that you enjoy it. Why do we want to live this miserable life? Why do we want to do that? It's like we feel like we should punish ourselves, that we're here on earth. Like, oh, I should punish myself because I'm not a kid anymore. Let's just make it as hard on ourselves as we can. Because we're really, really good at that. Really good at that. And I don't understand, because I'm doing my devotion right now is determined. And that's what it talks about. The fact that, we are given this life. I mean, God gave His life for us. He died on the cross for us. He made that sacrifice so we didn't have to live a miserable life. And so many of us choose that. So many people choose that. And to me, that's complacency. And we just stick it into our marriage and everything else in life.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. It's like a poison. It's like a slow creep in on you poison, and just starts eroding everything underneath it, and you don't even realize it. That's why you got to be so aware of things like that happening.
Do you want to add anything? I mean, I know I did a lot of the talking about the whole time period where you told me you resented what I did.
No, I mean, we were there, and so our situation at the time was one to where I had feelings like that because we had a child. We were starting a business, trying to get its legs underneath of it, passionate about it. And I was working another job that I loved, and that I cared a lot about as well. And I think what bothered me the most at the time was that when you work for something, when you love it, when you want it, and I'm 100% fine with that, because to succeed, sometimes you have to dig your heels in and you have to work. But a lot of times when you have a family and you have at the time a younger business, they both take a ton of work, and you got to be able to make yourself give them the equal amounts of work, and that comes with a massive amount of discipline. Mm-hmm. And again, complacency is saying, you know what, my family's going to be there, but I don't know if this business is going to work, so I'm going to put everything I have into it. And that's where it wasn't resonating with me, because I worked hard, very hard at the job I had, worked weekends with it sometimes, and still worked at the studio, and I was still home. And I don't fault Lindsay at all, because she dug in, she built a lot of what our business is today while I wasn't there, while I was working at the other job.
But won't you say that there was I felt a lot of regret for a long time. Lot of regret, a lot of guilt for things that I missed. And
a lot of people just aren't foresighted enough, I guess, to realize that that's going to happen. Because I can probably tell you countless story after story or movie plot that you ever watch that's not the case. The super successful person gets to a point in their life, the twilight in their life, and they realize they've missed everything. Mm-hmm. And what do I have to show for it? And it's some lessons, it's like we as humans can't take from other people and learn. We just have to
learn them the hard way.
Fail ourselves. Mm-hmm. And that lesson is a shame, because who wants to get to the twilight of their life and turn around and look back and see that maybe at some point they really had everything that was important, sacrificed it so they could have what they thought was important, and then it's all gone and you can't go get it back. And I want to be the type of person, I want to be the man that's driven, I want to succeed, I want to own a Learjet, but at the same time, and I'm serious, at the same time, I want to make sure that I'm like the whole way through the process that I'm checking myself up. Like, okay, hold on. Your kids are at a great age right now. This is something that I deal with in my head. They're at a great age right now, and there's part of you that wants to work really hard and not stop and like just like go after those goals and everything. But that's going to mean giving up time with them.
Mm-hmm.
Is that worth it?
Mm-hmm. And there's seasons.
Is that worth it?
There are seasons for everything in life, for everything, and you know, giving up that time may just not be. It may not be the time for it. You have to decide.
You want to see your kids watch parents that are driven and go after things that are successful, but there's a balance there because you don't want your children to resent what you did because it took you away from them.
Right.
Because sure, they're going to see the passion, they're going to see those things, and it's important. You know, you want to instill that in your kids to go get it, but at the same time, don't do it to the point to where they begin to feel like they're second or they're third or they're fourth to whatever it is you're running.
Right.
And I mean, just to even talk about that is such a complex balancing act in life. Mm-hmm. I don't.
Yeah, and
makes your head spin.
I'm glad I didn't wait till I was in my twilight to realize that, you know, I was in that, like, to really look back and be like, oh, I've accomplished this, you know, because I couldn't imagine accomplishing the things that we have without our family. I'm
not saying that's the path through. I'm just saying that happens.
But I'm saying I'm glad I didn't because, you know, there were when my daddy passed, when daddy had his accident, you know, I think that's when I realized just how important family was, that you never know when those opportunities are not going to be there anymore. You know, we always think, well, I'll work really, really hard right now and my marriage can be on autopilot and, you know, I'll be whatever. I think it's when you realize that that's not the case, that you don't, tomorrow's not promised, that, you know, being super successful or accomplishing things and putting everything on the back burner, you know, means nothing if you've missed everything.
Yeah, exactly. And I truly believe this. I truly do. You know, there's exceptions to the rules. Mm-hmm. And that's what I want us to be. That's what I've always in my head strive for me and you to be, is the exception, you know, to work, to want to go after things and still be able to balance and bring the kids along and bring the family along, and it just all to work. Sometimes it may be a nasty mess, but you get through it. But, you know, I've always thought, I was like, we can do that. We can be the exception. And I still believe that, you know, be the exception to those rules. And you can do that. You just you got to believe, and you got to force yourself to be aware of, okay, you know what? I really want this at work, but I'm married and I got kids and I got really bust my hind end when I'm there too. It don't matter how tired you are. You know, if you're late coming in, and you're going to be late coming in for a while, you know, you better find a little bit of energy and give it to your family.
Yeah. Give
it to them. You know, make them feel like dad's home. He's glad to be there. You know, mom's home. She's glad to be there. Hugs, kisses. You know, not the, just so tired. Just, we'll do it another time. You know, and that's just hard. But I think you have to do that. You have to find a way to make that balance happen.
Mm-hmm. And I think there's such thing as balance. You know, I
don't think it lasts long sometimes, but I think it happens.
If you read, you haven't read it yet, but the 5 a.m. Club, if you read that, listen, you all, here's the crazy thing. So think about what you do in your day. Think about all the access, the extra stuff that you do in your day that you could wipe off your list. Like, you know, whether it's, you know, on Sunday, my phone tells me how long I've spent on social media or on my phone every week. Like, it's freaking ungodly sometimes. You know, I think, okay, how much could I what could I have do with that amount of time that was valuable, that was intentional? You know, and that's something we don't think about. So a lot of times we're making that choice. Maybe we don't realize it, like we're on autopilot, so we're not realizing that, You know, we're autopilot scrolling Facebook, we're autopilot on social media, or whatever, you know, whatever it is. Or if it's, you know, sitting in line at Starbucks to get coffee on your way home, and you know, you're like, well, I could be home, I could go home and make me a cup of coffee and have an extra 30 minutes with my family. It's just prioritizing. And I think it's being grateful, you know, even if it's as small as a thank you. When you come home to your husband or your wife, thank you so much. There was one day I'll never forget. I had told you it was during fall. We were so busy, and that I had made the comment. I was like, this house is dry. Like, I felt that overwhelming feeling of just exhaustion, and I could go in the other room and cry so nobody could see me. And I come home and your truck was in the driveway. You had told me you were going to bowling. You were either going to bowling.
Where was I going?
You were going to do, it was work. You were going to either go build Christmas sets, but I walked in the house, like I saw Jamie's truck sitting in the drive, and I was like, this is odd. Like, this is odd. And I opened the door, and when I walked in the house and like he had cleaned up the house, I felt this overwhelming sense that I had. Like, I felt it just lift off of me like a ton of bricks. I mean, I just, that feeling. And so never devalue the little things. I mean, never devalue the big things. That's how you avoid complacency.
Yeah.
Just never devalue the importance of listening and doing and saying thank you and being intentional with your time. You know, if we would all just be a little bit more intentional with our time, I think our all around life would be better.
Yeah, absolutely. And something to really get to is if you neglect doing the small things, and you neglect doing the small things long enough, you are going to start neglecting to do the big things. Mm-hmm. And just a good example that you let the small things go and go long enough, and then all of a sudden you forgot your anniversary and you didn't even realize you did it, or you forgot it was Valentine's Day and you didn't even realize you did it. But the reason that happens
you knew it was Valentine's Day and you're like,
it's because you started conditioning yourself to believe that's okay with the little bitty things piling up over a long period of time, and then you're going to feel like it's okay to not do anything for the big things too. So
right, Mother's Day, Father's Day,
don't fall into those traps. Yeah. Right. So I think what we ought to do now is I know we've had you all for a little bit here, is give you just a few tips, things you can do still now that, when you do them for the first time, or maybe you haven't done them in years since you first met, and it's going to feel silly. It's going to feel dumb. It's like, we shouldn't do this. Do these things though, and do them repeatedly. And then they won't feel that way anymore. And you'll be so surprised how natural and okay it still feels to do little things like this in your marriage to help avoid complacency. So,
these are things that if you just give up, 30 minutes of social media, literally 30 minutes of scrolling.
Or 10 minutes.
30 minutes of, hey, I'm going to the bathroom and sitting on the toilet and scrolling Facebook. Man, you all do it. All of you all flip and do it.
Yeah.
If you'll just give that up,
I've stopped taking my
you
phone
can
to the bathroom.
Trade that time out with these things and make all the difference in your marriage.
Yeah, and these are just a few things. I didn't even get to finish writing like all the things you could do. And this is different too from marriage to marriage. But let's just talk about the thing. Leave little notes. You get up in the morning. Most of the time, I get up. Not always first, but I generally get up and go to the kitchen.
Yeah.
So
I'll get up and read, and then you get up.
Yeah, I get up, go make the coffee, get our little energy drinks that we drink from First Form. It's not like Monster or anything, but and then I bring that stuff back in here. But every now and then, or if you do something like that, you can leave a little note. Put a little note on the coffee mug. Take a little Post-it note or something like that.
We write little notes on to-go cups of coffee when my mom, we get next door. Little notes on the lids.
A little something like that. I mean, and you know what? Don't expect this like confetti cannon to explode when you hand it to them, and there to be like a choir singing in the background, like, thank you, that's the kindest thing ever, I love you so much. It may not happen that way, okay? But do it anyway. You still do it, okay? You still do it because you do it long, like, it's noticed. Trust me, it is noticed. But just don't expect, don't expect
our kids have noticed it though, and so Layton will even.
She's done it for you before.
She'll do little notes, like she's wrote me notes or you notes.
Yeah.
And then she'll do like draw on the coffee lid, the to-go coffee lid,
she's
seen us do it for each other.
Do that. So little notes like that, or leave a little message on the bathroom mirror or something like that for when your wife or your husband walks in there. Little things like that. Playful text. Okay, this is going to feel silly if you do this stuff, but like do it anyway. So between you and your wife, send fun text messages. Maybe, I don't know what you'll do, okay? That's between you and your wife, but just you can have fun with that stuff. Maybe it's like Messenger or using Snapchat or something like that. But
we highly recommend Snapchat so your kids can't find it.
Yeah, but just little playful things, back and forth with each other. Have fun. It's going to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm too old to do this stuff. No, you're not. And it is going to wipe out complacency in your marriage if you're doing these little things. Flowers are a good thing. Now, Lindsay and me, we don't have green thumbs. Any plant comes to us to die, okay? That's just like fake, okay? Right. It's fake. It's the best thing ever for us.
Like, and I don't love flowers. Like, I don't love getting flowers, but I won't complain.
It's
Jamie,
the gesture.
It's the thought.
It's the thought,
the
okay?
gesture.
Flowers just say something. They're going to die at some point anyway, okay? But what it is the gesture. It's the thought that goes into
and y'all, I keep
the
them until every petal falls off.
And if you really want to get good, pay attention to what kind of flowers she likes, and send her those every now and then, okay? So flowers are good. Here's a huge one. And it's huge, and it's so tiny. It's so tiny of a thing to do, but say thank you. Say thank you. Don't assume that your spouse just knows that you're thankful. They might, but man, is it not nice to hear thank you for something?
It really is.
It is so nice and reassuring to your partner that you notice and that you appreciate what they've done. If they've cooked dinner for you, it doesn't matter if they cook dinner every night for you, and that's the normal thing, and they love to cook, and it's like the best thing in the world to them. You should really consider thanking them for dinner every night that it's there for you.
I think people that are in self-employed and you're in the service industry, you value the word thank you so much.
Thank you goes a long way.
It does. Because there are times when there's things that when you bend over backwards and you don't get a thank you for or no appreciation, it hurts. So it really...
We sure remember when people don't say thank you for stuff.
We do. But
and that should tell you just how important it really is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, I felt that way before. Like, wow. Mm-hmm. Not even a thank you.
Right. Yeah.
So make it a point to be grateful and to let your spouse know how grateful and how thankful you are for the things that they do. Mm-hmm. And just a couple other things, small little gifts, maybe they've said a little something here or there that they'd like to have, or you just know something that they like, pick it up for them randomly every now and then, or just get them a little something here and there. Mm-hmm. Cooking dinner for them, if there's a meal they really like to eat, fix it for them one night. Gosh, the list can go on. Take them on a trip somewhere. Mm-hmm.
But I think the small things definitely lead to the bigger things because it snowballs. Small little gratitudes lead to, a thankful, just that bond, that reciprocation, and then you do it, and then I do it, and then you do it, and I do, and it just grows. Yeah. Grows to be something bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, that's a small little list, but there's so many things that you can do to avoid this trap, this subtle marriage killer that's complacency. And it's never, so the crazy thing about it is it's never going to go away. It's always something that could creep in on you at any stage of your marriage. So you have to always be working against it. It's always going to be work. but it's work that, I mean, it's a blessed work. You should want to do it. You know, marriage is a beautiful thing. So,
well, I think right now in this very moment with your spouse, you have to make the decision. Are you going to fight and work for your marriage? You know, you can't get caught in that mindset that it will never happen to me. And that's one thing that our pastor told us when we got married. Never think that it can't happen to you, because it can. It can. You can end up there really, really fast if you're not aware that it can happen to you. You know, it's like failure is not an option. We're going to talk about it right now. We're going to work on it, you know, but it can happen if we get caught in that trap and we don't put forth the effort.
Yeah.
That we don't say, you are the person I married, you are my spouse, we're going to work on this.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think that's all I've got.
Appreciate you.
We appreciate y'all. We appreciate you guys so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it again.
Yeah.
I hope you've been able to take something away from it. And, you know, hopefully none of you guys are in that place.
Right.
But be aware, be working on those things, do those little things for your spouse often. You know, do them frequently, do them often. Make it just a part of what you do for your spouse every day. And remember, one thing I've written down and I forgot to mention, the type of love that we share in marriage, it's referred to as agape. And agape is an unconditional love given no matter what. And that is what, when you're married, your love is supposed to mimic. Marriage is the closest thing we will have to experiencing how God loves us. And it's not even really close, but it is the closest thing on this earth, the closest experience we'll ever have to knowing how much God loves the church and loves his people. And that right there should tell you just how important it is.
And that doesn't mean you'll always like the other person's decision, because I'm sure Jesus does not like some of the decisions that we make.
Well, we know that is the case.
We know that. But he loves us.
Still, no matter what. And that's what marriage is, the opportunity to experience. So nurture it. Do the small things. Do them often. Do the big things. Be as good as you possibly can.
And have fun.
Yeah.
Have fun.
It should be fun.
Just have fun.
It should be fun. Well, guys, you all have a great evening. We'll be back again tomorrow night at 8 o'clock.
We'll be here.
We'll see you all then.
Bye.
See you.
See if I can roll out of the frame. Uh-oh.
I don't know what. Oh, that's the other charger.